Daniel Reyes had never imagined that his life would take him so far from Earth. Years ago, he had been just another engineer working on small orbital projects near human colonies, fixing broken systems and solving problems others avoided. Now he worked on a massive interspecies construction station that floated quietly in deep space, far from any planet. The station was known as a meeting point for many civilizations. Ships from different star systems arrived daily, bringing strange technologies, unfamiliar languages, and cultures that often struggled to understand each other. Humans were still new among the stars, and many aliens watched them carefully, unsure whether they were allies or future rivals. Daniel was known for his calm nature and his ability to joke even during stressful situations. Some species found human humor confusing, but others appreciated it because it made difficult moments feel lighter. He worked long shifts repairing damaged docking ports, upgrading energy conduits, and improvising solutions when advanced alien systems failed unexpectedly. While many engineers preferred strict manuals, Daniel trusted creativity and experience. He believed every machine told a story if someone listened carefully enough. Life on the station was rarely quiet. Large reptilian traders argued loudly with delicate insectoid diplomats. Massive cargo ships passed slowly through glowing docking rings, while maintenance drones flew like metal birds around them. Humans had earned a reputation as adaptable problem solvers because they could work with different technologies without fear. Daniel felt proud of that reputation, though he rarely spoke about it openly. One morning, a small diplomatic vessel arrived carrying trainees from a lesser-known species. They were blue-skinned beings from a distant ocean world. Their movements were graceful but cautious, and they seemed uncomfortable in artificial gravity environments. The station administration requested volunteers to help guide them during their training period. Daniel agreed without hesitation, because he enjoyed teaching and believed cooperation helped build trust between species. Among the trainees was a small blue alien girl named Lyra. Compared to the others, she seemed younger and quieter. Her skin had a soft blue tone that reflected the station's artificial lights, and her large eyes constantly observed everything around her. She struggled to balance in human-designed corridors, and often paused to study tools with careful attention. While some crew members assumed she was weak, Daniel noticed curiosity and determination beneath her shy behavior. During their first interaction, Lyra accidentally dropped a toolkit while trying to adjust a floating maintenance drone. The tools scattered across the floor, and she froze, unsure how to react. Daniel approached calmly and knelt to help her gather the pieces. Instead of criticizing her mistake, he explained how human tools were sometimes heavy, even for humans. His relaxed attitude made her feel less nervous. Over the following days, Daniel taught her simple engineering skills. He showed her how to use magnetic boots to stabilize her movement in fluctuating gravity fields. He explained how humans approached problems by experimenting rather than waiting for perfect solutions. Lyra listened carefully to every word, absorbing knowledge with intense focus. She asked thoughtful questions that surprised Daniel because they revealed deep understanding beyond her age. Other trainees often followed strict procedures taught by their instructors, but Lyra seemed fascinated by human improvisation. She watched Daniel repair a damaged reactor panel using spare parts that technically were not designed for that system. When the repair worked perfectly, her eyes widened with admiration. She began trying small experiments herself, slowly gaining confidence. Outside of work, the station offered limited places for relaxation. One area simulated a natural park with artificial trees and flowing water, designed to comfort species from nature-based worlds. Daniel sometimes walked there after long shifts to clear his mind. One evening he found Lyra sitting quietly near a small artificial pond, studying the reflection of the stars above. She appeared thoughtful, almost lonely. Daniel joined her, and they talked about their home worlds. He described Earth's oceans, mountains, and changing weather. She described endless blue seas under bright twin moons, where her people valued harmony and collective progress. Their conversations became regular. Lyra admired how humans embraced uncertainty and change, while Daniel admired her patience and discipline. Despite their cultural differences, they found common ground through engineering and curiosity about the universe. She slowly opened up, sharing that many of her peers doubted her abilities because she learned differently from others. Daniel encouraged her to embrace that difference, explaining that unique perspectives often created the best solutions. One day, while repairing a broken maintenance drone together, Lyra asked whether humans formed bonds beyond their own species. The question surprised Daniel, but he answered honestly, saying humans were known for building connections anywhere they felt understood. She looked thoughtful for a long moment. Trying to lighten the mood, Daniel laughed and jokingly said that if she kept improving at this rate, maybe she could come back one day and marry him. To him, it was nothing more than a playful comment meant to boost her confidence. Lyra paused, studying his face carefully. She did not laugh immediately. Instead, she nodded slowly, as if storing the words deep within her memory. Daniel did not notice the seriousness behind her reaction. For him, it was just another moment of humor during a long day of work. Weeks passed quickly. Lyra improved rapidly, mastering complex repairs and even suggesting creative modifications to systems that impressed senior engineers. Her confidence grew, and she began speaking more during group discussions. Some crew members who initially ignored her started asking for her input. Daniel felt proud seeing her transformation, though he never claimed credit for it. Eventually, the training program ended. The Blue Species diplomatic ship prepared to depart, carrying the trainees back to their homeworld. On the final day, Lyra searched for Daniel near the docking bay. She found him inspecting a cargo clamp and approached quietly. She thanked him formally in her culture's traditional gesture, pressing her hand gently against his glove. She told him that he had changed how she saw herself and that she would return stronger one day. Daniel smiled warmly, assuming it was simply a polite farewell. After she left, life on the station continued as usual. New projects arrived. Conflicts between rival traders flared and settled, and Daniel focused on his work. Months turned into years. Humans gained more recognition within interstellar society as their engineering skills solved problems others avoided. Daniel's reputation grew, though he remained humble and focused on practical tasks rather than politics. Sometimes he remembered the small blue trainee who asked endless questions, but memories faded beneath the pressure of constant work. He assumed she had returned to her world and continued her studies like many others before her. 10 years later, a powerful diplomatic cruiser approached the station without warning. Its design was sleek and advanced, glowing softly as it moved into orbit. Security teams scrambled to prepare, and rumor spread quickly through the corridors. The arriving vessel belonged to a highly respected blue-skinned civilization, now known for major technological breakthroughs and growing influence in galactic politics. Daniel received a message requesting his presence for a technical consultation aboard the ship. He assumed it was routine, perhaps a malfunction requiring human adaptability. He grabbed his toolkit and boarded a shuttle that carried him toward the massive cruiser. Inside, the atmosphere felt different from the busy chaos of the station. The corridors were calm and organized, filled with soft lighting and smooth surfaces that reflected the elegance of the alien design. Guards escorted him into a large chamber, where a tall blue alien woman stood near a central console. She carried herself with confidence and authority, wearing formal attire that indicated high status. When she turned toward him, Daniel felt a strange sense of familiarity. Her eyes were the same shade of blue he remembered, though now filled with strength rather than uncertainty. She introduced herself as Lyra. For a moment he could not speak. The shy trainee he once guided had become a powerful figure. She smiled gently, reminding him of their past and of a joke he made years ago. Daniel laughed nervously, embarrassed by the memory. He assumed she mentioned it playfully, but her calm expression suggested the moment held deeper meaning for her. She explained that his encouragement had shaped her path, inspiring her to challenge expectations and pursue leadership within her society. She had returned not only as a diplomat but as someone who wanted to reconnect with the human who believed in her when few others did. Before he could fully respond, alarms echoed through the chamber. Emergency lights flashed, signaling a serious problem spreading across the station. Lyra turned toward the display panels, her expression shifting from warm nostalgia to focused determination. The station faced a dangerous energy instability, and immediate action was required. She looked back at Daniel and asked for his help, just as she had years ago. Standing there, he realized that the small joke he once made had become part of a much larger story, one that had brought her back after a decade, not as a student, but as an equal, ready to face whatever challenges waited ahead. The emergency alarms echoed through the diplomatic cruiser and across the orbital station at the same time, creating a sense of urgency that could be felt even by those who did not understand the language of the warnings. Red lights flashed across control panels, and the calm atmosphere inside the blue alien ship changed instantly. Engineers rushed toward consoles, security officers communicated through silent signals, and the large windows showed distant sections of the station flickering with unstable energy waves. Daniel stood beside Lyra, still trying to process how much she had changed in 10 years, but the crisis forced him to focus immediately. He moved toward a floating display and studied the data flowing across it. The energy readings were unstable and rising quickly. The station's main power grid was experiencing irregular surges that spread like ripples through connected systems. If not controlled soon, the overload could damage critical infrastructure or even tear sections of the station apart. Lyra spoke calmly to her crew in her own language, issuing precise instructions. Her voice carried authority, and everyone around her responded quickly. Daniel noticed how natural leadership seemed to her now. The shy trainee, he remembered, had become someone others trusted without hesitation. She turned back to him and explained the situation in simple terms. The station's reactor network had entered a feedback loop, caused by conflicting energy frequencies between multiple species technologies. Normally, the station's systems balanced such differences automatically, but something had changed. The automatic regulators were failing, and no one understood why. Daniel nodded slowly. He had seen similar problems before when incompatible systems were connected without proper translation layers. The challenge was finding the exact source before the overload spread too far. He suggested starting with the older human-built control arrays, because they often acted as bridges between different technologies. Lyra agreed immediately and arranged transport for both of them back to the station. The shuttle ride felt tense but focused. Outside the window, Daniel watched maintenance drones flying rapidly toward damaged sectors. Ships moved away from docking areas, preparing for possible evacuation. The station that usually felt alive with trade and cooperation now seemed fragile, as if a small mistake could break everything. When they arrived, chaos filled the corridors. Engineers from many species argued about solutions, while security teams directed civilians toward safer zones. Daniel pushed through the crowd with Lyra at his side, heading toward a central engineering hub. Some crew members recognized him and quickly shared information, trusting his experience. Inside the engineering hub, holographic displays showed energy lines spreading through the station like glowing veins. Several areas flashed warning signals. Daniel studied the patterns carefully. The surges were not random. They followed a repeating rhythm, almost like a signal rather than a malfunction. He pointed this out to Lyra, and her expression grew serious. If the pattern was intentional, it could mean sabotage. She ordered a deeper scan using her species' advanced analysis tools. Within moments, new data appeared, revealing hidden code embedded inside the reactor control system. Daniel felt a chill. Someone had modified the core programming to create instability slowly over time. The design was clever, making the problem look like natural system failure, until it reached a critical stage. Whoever did this understood both alien and human technology very well. Without wasting time, they began working on a temporary solution to stabilize the system. Daniel climbed into a maintenance shaft leading toward the reactor interface, while Lyra monitored energy fluctuations from the control room. Communication between them remained constant, their voices steady despite rising pressure. Inside the shaft, gravity fluctuated unpredictably, forcing Daniel to rely on magnetic boots and handholds. Sparks flickered along damaged conduits, and heat radiated from overloaded circuits. He reached the interface panel and opened it carefully. Inside, complex alien components mixed with human wiring created a maze of connections. He began rerouting energy through secondary lines to reduce pressure on the main system. The work required fast decisions because manuals could not cover such unique combinations of technology. Lyra guided him using real-time calculations from her ship's computers, adjusting frequencies to match his changes. Their teamwork felt natural, almost effortless. Daniel realized she understood human engineering philosophy deeply. She anticipated his moves, suggesting options that complemented his improvisation. Years ago, she had watched him work with curiosity. Now she matched his pace with confidence. During a brief pause, she spoke quietly through the communicator. She said she had studied human problem-solving methods after leaving the station because she believed their approach held the key to balancing rigid alien systems. Daniel smiled despite the tension, feeling proud that his influence had shaped her thinking. Suddenly, a surge of energy shot through the system, shaking the entire structure. Warning lights intensified, and Daniel nearly lost his balance. Lyra's voice became sharper as she detected a new spike. The sabotage program was reacting to their interference, increasing output to counter their repairs. Daniel realized they were not only fixing damage, but fighting against an active process designed to resist correction. He searched for the hidden code within the interface, and finally located an unfamiliar module transmitting signals through secure channels. Someone was controlling the instability remotely. They had to isolate the module quickly. Daniel disconnected several lines, risking further imbalance, while Lyra recalibrated external stabilizers to compensate. Sweat formed on his forehead as he worked under pressure, but his movements remained precise. After several tense minutes, the energy levels dropped slightly, giving them temporary relief. The station stopped shaking and alarms shifted from critical to warning status. It was only a short-term solution, but it bought them time. Daniel climbed out of the shaft and returned to the control room. Lyra stood waiting, her expression showing both relief and concern. They exchanged a quiet look, acknowledging the seriousness of the situation without needing words. She informed him that political tensions made the discovery of sabotage extremely dangerous. If different species blamed each other, it could destroy years of fragile cooperation. Daniel agreed, understanding that solving the technical problem alone was not enough. They needed to find who was responsible. Together, they reviewed security footage and system logs. Hidden transmissions appeared routed through multiple relays, masking their origin. The saboteur clearly planned carefully, knowing how to avoid detection. The deeper they searched, the clearer it became that the attack targeted Lyra's diplomatic mission specifically. The instability would have reached its peak shortly after her arrival, possibly causing a disaster that could be blamed on her people. Lyra remained calm, though Daniel sensed personal disappointment beneath her professional composure. Someone wanted to stop the alliance she came to build. Instead of fear, she showed determination. She thanked Daniel for helping despite the risks. He shrugged lightly, saying it was just another engineering problem, though he knew the situation felt far more personal now. Seeing her again after 10 years stirred memories he had not expected, and working beside her reminded him how meaningful their connection had been even back then. They prepared to enter a restricted reactor chamber where the sabotage signal originated. The environment inside was dangerous due to unstable energy fields, but waiting too long could allow the saboteur to regain control. Lyra insisted on joining him despite security concerns. She explained that her species' energy manipulation skills might be necessary to counteract the hidden program. Equipped with protective suits, they stepped into the chamber together, Floating debris moved slowly in distorted gravity, and streams of light flickered across the walls as energy fluctuated unpredictably. The atmosphere felt tense and almost unreal. As they advanced toward the core, Daniel realized how much trust existed between them. 10 years had changed their lives in different ways, but the foundation built during her training remained strong. He no longer saw her as the small blue trainee. She stood beside him as an equal partner, strong and confident. At the center of the chamber, they found a concealed transmitter connected directly to the reactor network. Its design combined multiple technologies, confirming that the saboteur possessed advanced knowledge. Lyra used her energy control ability to stabilize the surrounding field while Daniel worked to disconnect the device. The moment he touched it, a surge of data appeared on his visor, revealing a countdown sequence prepared to trigger a massive overload if tampered with incorrectly. He took a deep breath and began carefully disabling the system step by step, relying on instinct and experience. Time seemed to slow as they worked together. Lyra maintained energy balance while Daniel navigated complex code patterns. Finally, with a precise movement, he shut down the transmitter without triggering the overload. The energy around them calmed slightly, and the chamber lights returned to normal levels. They had stopped the immediate threat, but questions remained unanswered. Who placed the device, and why did they fear cooperation between humans and Lyra's people so much? As they left the chamber, Daniel felt a growing sense that their reunion was connected to something much larger than either of them expected. The joke from 10 years ago had brought them back together, but now they stood at the center of a mystery that could change the future of interstellar relations. The reactor chamber slowly returned to a stable state after Daniel disconnected the hidden transmitter, but the atmosphere across the station remained tense. Emergency crews continued moving through corridors, checking damaged systems and calming worried passengers. The temporary fix gave them time, but both Daniel and Lyra knew the real danger was not over yet. Someone had planned this carefully, and stopping one device did not guarantee the threat was gone. As they walked back toward the central engineering hub, Daniel felt the weight of the situation growing heavier. Years ago, his work had mostly involved mechanical failures or system upgrades. Now he stood in the middle of political conflict, hidden behind technical sabotage. He glanced at Lyra as they moved together through the corridor. She walked with calm focus, speaking quietly into her communicator while receiving updates from her crew. Her presence brought stability to those around her. Crew members stepped aside respectfully when she passed, recognizing her authority without needing explanation. Inside the engineering hub, the atmosphere had shifted from chaos to organized urgency. Teams from different species worked together, sharing data and testing repair strategies. Large holographic displays showed improved energy levels, but warning indicators remained active. Daniel approached a console and began reviewing new logs from the disabled transmitter. The device contained encrypted records, and decoding them would require cooperation between human systems and Lyra's advanced technology. Lyra stood beside him, watching as the data slowly translated. She explained that her people developed advanced pattern recognition systems that could identify hidden structures within encrypted signals. Together, they combined tools from both civilizations, and slowly fragments of information appeared. The transmitter had been receiving remote commands through a network of relays hidden across the station. Each relay masked the origin, creating layers of deception. Daniel frowned as he studied the pattern. Whoever controlled the system understood how to avoid suspicion by spreading signals across many locations. It was not the work of a random criminal or careless engineer. This was organized and strategic. Lyra ordered security teams to investigate the relay points. Reports came back quickly showing small, unauthorized modifications hidden within maintenance panels. None of them caused obvious damage, which explained why they went unnoticed for so long. The saboteur had likely worked patiently over months or even years. As they continued investigating, Daniel felt curiosity mixing with concern. He wondered why anyone would risk such a complex operation. Lyra shared her thoughts quietly. She believed the sabotage aimed to prevent the alliance she was negotiating between her people and humanity. Their cooperation threatened certain groups that benefited from keeping civilizations divided. Daniel considered this carefully. Humans were still new among the stars, and many older powers viewed them with suspicion. Humans' ability to adapt quickly and work with different technologies made them unpredictable. An alliance between humans and an advanced blue civilization could shift the balance of power. Security footage eventually revealed a clue. One of the relay installations had been accessed by individuals wearing maintenance uniforms belonging to a private corporate organization known for controlling major trade routes. The corporation often influenced infrastructure projects, ensuring other civilizations depended on their services. If the station's alliance reduced that dependence, their profits could decrease. The realization created a heavy silence between Daniel and Lyra. The threat was not just technical, but political. Exposing such a group could create conflict beyond the station itself. Still, allowing sabotage to continue was not an option. While teams prepared a plan to track the remote signal further, Daniel and Lyra found a brief moment alone near a quiet observation window. Outside, distant stars shone against darkness, and repair drones moved like tiny lights around damaged sections of the station. The calm view contrasted sharply with the tension inside. Daniel broke the silence first, apologizing for the joke he made 10 years ago. He worried that it might have created expectations or confusion. Lyra listened patiently and then smiled softly. She explained that she never returned expecting him to fulfill a promise. For her, the joke symbolized something deeper. It represented acceptance from someone who saw her potential before she believed in herself. She admitted that during her training she often felt invisible among stronger trainees. His encouragement changed that feeling, giving her courage to explore new paths. Over time, she realized that humans valued individuality and growth, which inspired her to challenge traditions within her own society. Returning to the station allowed her to reconnect with the person who helped start that journey. Daniel felt relieved hearing this. Their bond was built on respect and shared experience rather than misunderstanding. He realized that seeing her again stirred emotions he had not expected, but he focused on the present challenge. An urgent message interrupted their conversation. The remote signal controlling the sabotage had been traced to a restricted sector within the station's construction bay. The area housed unfinished starship structures and large energy conduits, making it a perfect location to hide powerful equipment. Daniel and Lyra joined a small investigation team and moved quickly toward the construction bay. The space felt enormous, filled with half-built ships suspended by massive support frames. Mechanical arms moved slowly, continuing automated assembly despite recent damage. Shadows stretched across the metal surfaces, creating an atmosphere of quiet tension. Sensors detected active energy fluctuations near one of the unfinished vessels. As they approached carefully, Daniel noticed faint pulses matching the pattern they saw earlier. Hidden behind structural panels, they discovered a larger transmitter connected to multiple systems. Before they could disable it, movement appeared in the distance. Several figures wearing maintenance suits attempted to escape through secondary corridors. Security teams moved to intercept, but the saboteurs triggered additional disruptions to slow pursuit. Daniel realized the transmitter included a final fail-safe program. If activated, it would overload the station's core energy system, causing catastrophic damage. He quickly explained the risk to Lyra. She immediately coordinated with her ship's crew to deploy energy shields around vulnerable areas, buying them precious time. Working under intense pressure, Daniel accessed the transmitter's interface. The coding structure felt familiar, showing signs of corporate engineering methods designed for efficiency rather than safety. He began isolating control sequences while Lyra stabilized energy flows around him. Their movements felt synchronized, combining human improvisation with alien precision. The countdown sequence accelerated, and warning signals filled the air. Daniel's mind raced as he searched for a solution. Instead of trying to shut down the system directly, He redirected power through an unfinished starship's structural frame, using it as a temporary energy sink. The idea was risky, but it could absorb excess energy long enough to disable the program safely. Lyra immediately understood his plan and adjusted her energy fields to reinforce the structure. Together, they created a balanced flow that prevented overload. Seconds later, Daniel completed the shutdown, and the transmitter went silent. A wave of relief passed through the team. Security forces captured several saboteurs, confirming the involvement of the corporate organization they suspected. Evidence collected from the transmitter exposed the entire plan, preventing further attacks. As the construction bay returned to calm, Daniel and Lyra stood together watching engineers secure the area. The crisis had brought them closer, strengthening their trust. He realized that her presence made him feel both challenged and supported, and she saw in him the same creative spirit that inspired her years ago. Though the immediate danger ended, they both knew the consequences would reach beyond the station. Their cooperation proved that humans and her people could overcome even carefully planned sabotage. This success might inspire others to support their alliance, but it could also attract new challenges. Walking back through the corridors, Daniel felt a quiet confidence growing inside him. The future remained uncertain, but working alongside Lyra felt natural, as if their paths had always been meant to cross again. The joke from long ago now felt like the beginning of a story still unfolding, one shaped by trust, courage, and the shared belief that cooperation could change the destiny of worlds. The construction bay slowly returned to normal after the transmitter was shut down, but the feeling across the station had changed. What had started as a technical crisis revealed something deeper, and now everyone understood how close they had come to disaster. Repair teams moved through corridors fixing damaged systems, while security forces secured captured saboteurs and began questioning them. The station's lights no longer flickered, and the steady hum of machinery returned, like a heartbeat stabilizing after danger. Daniel stood near a large observation window, watching drones repair damaged exterior panels. He felt tired, but calm. The crisis had demanded everything from him, but it also reminded him why he chose engineering. Solving problems was never just about machines. It was about protecting people and helping different worlds move forward together. Lyra approached quietly and stood beside him. Her posture remained strong, but her expression softened slightly now that the immediate danger had passed. She thanked him again, not formally as a diplomat, but personally as someone who trusted him deeply. Daniel nodded, feeling slightly uncomfortable with praise, but also appreciating her sincerity. Reports soon confirmed that the sabotage plan had been organized by a powerful trade corporation that feared losing influence if humans and Lyra's civilization formed a close alliance. The corporation relied on keeping technological systems separated and dependent on their services. Cooperation between species threatened that control. The evidence gathered from the transmitters exposed their involvement clearly, and station leadership prepared to share the findings with galactic authorities. As investigations continued, many species across the station began discussing what had happened. Some felt shocked that anyone would risk so many lives for profit. Others saw it as proof that change always created resistance. Humans gained respect because Daniel's quick thinking and willingness to work with alien systems prevented catastrophe. Lyra's leadership also earned admiration, showing that her people valued cooperation rather than domination. Days passed as repairs finished and diplomatic discussions resumed. The station slowly regained its usual rhythm, filled with traders, engineers, and travelers moving through busy corridors. Yet something felt different. People who once stayed distant from each other now exchanged ideas more openly. The crisis had forced them to rely on cooperation, and many realized that shared challenges could create stronger bonds than years of cautious negotiation. Daniel returned briefly to his regular engineering duties, checking systems that needed recalibration after the overload. Walking through familiar corridors felt strange after everything that happened. Crew members greeted him with respect, some offering thanks. He responded with simple smiles, not wanting to appear important. In his mind, he was still just an engineer doing his job. One evening, he received a message inviting him to Lyra's ship for a private discussion. Curious, he traveled to the docking bay and boarded the elegant blue cruiser. The atmosphere inside felt peaceful compared to the noisy station. Soft lights reflected from smooth walls and gentle music played quietly in the background. Lyra waited for him in a viewing chamber where stars stretched endlessly beyond large transparent panels. She looked less like a formal diplomat and more like the thoughtful person he remembered from years ago. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence felt comfortable rather than awkward. She explained that negotiations had succeeded. The alliance between humans and her people would move forward, creating joint engineering programs and shared exploration missions. This partnership represented a new direction for both civilizations. Humans would gain access to advanced energy technology, while her people would learn from human creativity and adaptability. Daniel congratulated her sincerely, knowing how much effort she had invested to reach this moment. She admitted that returning to the station felt risky at first because she did not know whether he would remember her or whether their connection still existed. Seeing him again confirmed that some bonds did not fade with time. Their conversation turned more personal. She spoke about how his encouragement, years ago, helped her challenge expectations placed upon her by tradition. He spoke about how teaching her reminded him that even small actions could change someone's life. They both realized that their paths had influenced each other more than either had expected. She gently mentioned the old joke he once made. Daniel laughed softly, feeling slightly embarrassed again. She smiled and said that over the years she understood it was only humor, but it also symbolized trust and possibility. Now that they stood as equals, she wondered what their relationship could become beyond mentorship and shared missions. Daniel took a moment to think before answering. He admitted that seeing her again changed how he viewed the past. She was no longer the shy trainee he once guided, but a strong leader whose presence challenged him to grow as well. He said he did not want to rush into anything based on old words, but he wanted to explore whatever connection existed between them honestly and slowly. Her eyes reflected warmth at his response. She agreed that understanding took time and that trust mattered more than labels or expectations. The conversation left both feeling lighter, as if unspoken questions finally found balance. In the following weeks, preparations began for a joint project combining human engineering methods with her civilization's energy science. The project aimed to build a new generation of starships capable of traveling further and more efficiently than anything before. Daniel joined the development team, working closely with Lyra and other specialists from multiple species. The work felt exciting and meaningful. Instead of solving problems caused by conflict, they now created something entirely new together. Engineers shared ideas freely, blending creativity with precision. Daniel often found himself smiling while working, realizing how far he had come since his early days on the station. During breaks, he and Lyra explored different sections of the station together, sometimes discussing technical details, and other times simply enjoying quiet moments, watching ships depart into space. Their connection grew naturally, built on respect and shared experiences rather than dramatic gestures. The story of their cooperation spread quickly through interstellar networks. Many saw it as an example of how humans could form strong alliances despite cultural differences. Younger engineers from different species began visiting the station, hoping to learn from the partnership that stopped sabotage and built something new from crisis. One evening, they stood together on a platform overlooking the nearly completed starship created by their joint project. The vessel's design reflected both civilizations, combining elegant curves with practical structural features. Lights illuminated its surface as teams completed final adjustments. Daniel felt a deep sense of pride watching it take shape. He realized that the ship represented more than technology. It symbolized trust between worlds that once remained distant. Lyra stood beside him, her expression thoughtful as she observed the same view. She asked whether humans always believed in possibilities, even when the future felt uncertain. Daniel replied that humans rarely knew what the future held, but they kept moving forward because curiosity pushed them to explore. She smiled, saying that curiosity was what first drew her toward him years ago. As the ship prepared for its first launch, a small ceremony gathered representatives from many species. Speeches highlighted cooperation and resilience, but Daniel preferred standing quietly at the edge of the crowd. Lyra joined him, and together they watched as the massive vessel slowly lifted away from the station, engines glowing softly as it moved toward open space. The moment felt symbolic, marking the beginning of a new era shaped by collaboration rather than competition. Daniel realized that the joke he once made without thinking had become part of a much larger journey. What began as encouragement between a human engineer and a shy alien trainee had grown into a partnership influencing entire civilizations. After the launch, they walked together along a quiet corridor. The station lights reflected gently across metal surfaces, creating a peaceful atmosphere. Neither spoke for a while, enjoying the silence that followed weeks of intense work. Finally, Lyra said that no matter where their paths led, she felt grateful that they met again. Daniel agreed, understanding that some connections changed people in ways they could not predict. They did not define their future with promises or expectations. Instead, they chose to continue walking forward together, ready to face whatever challenges or discoveries waited beyond the stars. As they reached the viewing window at the end of the corridor, the newly launched ship appeared as a distant light moving toward unexplored space. Daniel felt hopeful, sensing that their story was only beginning. Humanity's strength did not come from power alone, but from the ability to build bridges where others saw differences. Standing beside Lyra, he understood that the future of the galaxy might depend on such connections, and he felt ready to be part of that journey.